educates, syncopates, radio communicates, radio, the sound of year-round pleasure.
Hey everybody, you're listening to Come Along Radio, the only show on the internet that covers the rich history and the sweet sounds of Japanese city pop. I'm Rocket Brown, and I'm ready to get down. And I've got a special guest with me here today. He's the moderator of Neo Tokyo, the best city pop server on Discord. Say hello to Sanok.
Aww. Hello, it's me, Sanok.
We're doing another album review today of a very famous Japanese composer, singer-songwriter, record producer, and activist. You might know him as the keyboardist to electronic band Yellow Magic Orchestra. I'm talking Ryuichi Sakomoto. He's a musician who's done a little bit of everything. Each album seems to be different from the last. My first album that I was introduced to Ryuichi Sakomoto was actually something that's probably the closest thing to city pop that he's ever done. And that is Summer Nerves, 1979. Now, what's your experience with Ryuichi Sakomoto?
Oh, so for me, it's actually quite magical. So I used to be part of like the biggest Discord server for city pop at the time. And I'd actually like to give a little shout out to Moomin. I owe him a lot. But I was asking Moomin, who was one of the moderators on the server, for album recommendations. Because I just got into city pop. I was a little bit of I was going through that phase of, oh, Tatsuru's the best thing ever. Nothing could top Tatsuru. And then Moomin threw 1,000 Knives at me.
Ooh.
One of his debut album, and probably the thing that catches you and draws you into the rest of his career if you continue to listen to his albums and listen to his movie compositions. But I was drawn in by that, and then from there I ended up listening to Harumi Hosono, I ended up listening to Yukihiro Takahashi, and then of course the Yellow Magic Orchestra itself, and I became a bit of a fan, you could say.
Nice. We are listening to Summer Nerves by Ryuichi Sakamoto and the Kakutogi session. Kakutogi translates to martial art. This is an interesting collaboration. This is Ryuichi's first collaboration album. It's a big all-star cast. Most prominently Kazumi Watanabe, famous jazz fusion guitarist. Yukihiro Takahashi from YMO, bassist Rei Ohara, guitarist Kenji Omura, singer-songwriters Akiko Miyano and Tatsuya Yamashita, Shigeru Suzuki on guitar, Masaki Matsubara, and a few American musicians, notably from the band Chic, Bernard Edwards on bass, and Nile Rodgers Jr. on guitar. And of course, you have Harry Hosono as one of the composers. And so this one's got a very interesting lineup of musicians. Alrighty, so that was Summer Nerves, the opening track, and I was not expecting reggae music.
Or Ryuchi Sakamoto without a synth on his voice. It's very rare that he doesn't do that.
I could see why he doesn't do that.
Very rare.
To be perfectly honest.
And it's nice. No, it's nice. I like it. He has a very nice, relaxing tone to his voice. He might not be the best singer.
Oh yeah, at least, it's not even bad.
It's chill.
It's not even bad. It is very chill. You're right. I think what it is I'm noticing a trend where a lot of people associated with Harry Hosono tend to sing very similarly to Harry Hosono. And I think Ryuichi's vocal range is somewhere in between Harry and Yukihiro Takahashi, in terms of how his voice sounds. I guess because of that, for me, it's not as I don't want to say interesting. Let's be honest. Hosono has a weird ass voice when he's singing. He sounds like Kermit the.
But it always fits the tracks he's doing.
It does. That's the weird part. There's a personality in his voice.
He's singing because it's relevant to him.
Yeah, and that's not a bad thing. I feel like Harry Hosono and Yukihiro Takahashi both have a personality within their voice. For Yukihiro Takahashi, he's very influenced by like Europop and New Wave, so he has a very David Bowie way of singing. And
a very spacey voice.
Yeah.
When he sings.
And Harry Hosono has a very Kermit the Frog way of singing.
He has that sort of that 1920s sort of composer kind of voice that
there we go.
Puts himself inside of it, but it's because he's been there. It's because he's been there and he wants to tell a story.
That's true. That's a good point. That's a Les Hart.
And he is a man who's gone around the
he's been around the block.
Gone around the Pacific. But for Ryuchi Sakamoto, it's actually something quite special about when he does sing, because I listened to an interview of his for one of his live performances. I think it was Love Live. You'll need to correct me in the comments otherwise, but he said that he finds that his voice is sacred to him, like it's his form of expression. So when he sings, it is certainly from the heart, and it's his way of expressing himself as an artist and making something that he enjoys, and you can definitely hear that in this song.
Yeah,
his heart is in it.
Yeah, I would say so. Nothing comes off as insincere in this song. It's a pretty standard pop song with reggae influences. You gotta understand, I used to listen to a lot of reggae growing up. Then my dad, introduced me to Bob Marley, and then my stepmom, she's Jamaican, so I got to listen to a whole bunch of stuff by like Buju Banton, Third World.
You're educated.
And all that stuff. So, and what's interesting is that originally the concept for this album was originally going to be a bossa nova album. CBS. This was under.
But Yukihiro Takahashi beat him to the beat by the sounds of it.
Basically. But yeah, CBS Sony wanted this to be a bossa nova album, but Sakamoto was like, "Nah, let's do reggae."
Good. He's not a man that you should chain down. You should let him go free and do what he wants.
No,
he's a very
and that's
expressive
fair.
man.
And I think he did it. I think so far he's off to a decent start.
So did you enjoy Ryuichi Sakamoto synthing himself?
Yeah. So that's the song that I think of when I listen to Southern Nerve. You're a friend to me. All right. So that one's actually one of my favorite tracks on this album. I think the slower reggae arrangement, we call it rocksteady.
Yeah. It's certainly the most reggae track out of the bunch. It's very, very chill, very relaxing.
Yeah.
And very easy to sing along to.
Yeah, there's different kinds of reggae, right? There's the reggae pop, and then there's rocksteady, which is a lot slower. That's stuff like Mad Mad written by Alton Ellis. Alton Ellis is Mad Mad Mad. It's probably the most famous rocksteady rhythm. It was the song that basically gave birth to dancehall.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, so like, that rocksteady is more that slow reggae sound, and this has that down to a T. Plus, it has the benefit of having a great string arrangement and some awesome vocals. Female chorus group Eve, who are probably one of the most popular backing chorus groups in the 70s and the 80s in city pop records. They've done backing chorus for a lot of people, and they did a good job here. Love this song.
What other work have they done, just out of interest?
Oh, jeez.
So
Let me get out the list, man. I'm telling you, listen. Like,
I've probably heard them somewhere.
You haven't realized it, because they're everywhere. They were three sisters from Okinawa. They were originally called the Apples. They debuted in 1976, and then they changed their name to Eve in 1978. They're about as omnipresent as Jake H. Conception is with his saxophone.
Oh.
Jake H. Conception was the guy you got for a saxophone solo. The Eve sisters were the people you got for good backing chorus.
Sleep on my back. Dream on my back. Sleep on my back.
What's cooler than cool, dude?
Sleeping on your baby.
Sleeping on your baby. Oh,
Disclaimer,
man.
please. Anyone that has children or loved ones that are
You know,
children, please do
do
not
not
sleep on your children.
on top
Do
of
not
your
sleep
children.
with your children. If you refer to your wife as baby, also don't do that. She might have a few problems with that.
Oh my god. So that was
Yeah.
sleep on my baby. So just for the record, she's saying sleep on my baby. I don't think she's telling you to lay on.
Yeah, she's not literally saying that.
Yeah. It's just. But this is a jam.
Have you noticed something so far with the last 3 tracks and what is
Talk to me, Sonic. Talk to me.
what is continuing throughout every single song?
The
quality.
I mean, it's definitely. It's different. I mean, I'm hearing different tempos of reggae. Like Summer Nerves was pretty laid back. Your Friend to Me was a lot more rock steady. Sleep on My Baby kind of went full like dance reggae mode. The vocals, there's a lot more focus on vocals with Sleep on My Baby.
Yes, there definitely are. There's I would say that what's consistent throughout each song is the drum work by Yukihiro Takahashi. Because you mentioned tempo. He's very, very talented. He knows when to use power, and he knows when to be soft and like very calm with his tempo. And
Absolutely.
When to slow it down.
Absolutely.
The guy is a genius. My number 1 favorite drummer.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I think Takahashi is key to making this album work because drums are really important in reggae. Because, reggae music, I don't know how much reggae music you listen to, but reggae has a very specific, way
I can imagine,
that the drums are played. I think he's captured that very well. Also, just that whole album just fucking slaps, dude. I'm sorry, pardon my French, but golly. Oh man,
it's a meeting of some very, very, very good minds to create something.
That's true, but also some great voices.
Yes, yeah. As I said, great minds, great voices, great talent, all put into a genre which you don't usually see
right
from Japan or from synth artists.
Mm-hmm. True. And to be fair, oh man, Akiyano really makes this track. Oh my god, I love Akiyano so much. She's one of my favorite female vocalists. It's weird because I wasn't a fan at first. The best way I could describe Akiyano's voice is Taoko Anuki unhinged. It's like she's got that same softness to her voice, but then she knows,
she lets it out.
Yeah, she knows where to put a little seasoning in it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
especially with the parts where she's going, sleep on my baby. And I'm just like, okay. And
she really does put her heart into the music that she sings.
Yeah, she's really good at. She's not afraid to let her voice go to weird places, and I really like it. And she knows when to get soulful. She's surprisingly really good at that. This is my first time hearing her sing in English, and I'm just like, oh man, yeah. I was just so caught up. It helps that the main chorus is just so catchy. It's Sleep on My Baby. It's such a simple song, but it just works.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, Sleep on My Baby.
They're very good at making simplistic music that's incredibly catchy or has a lot of soul behind it.
True.
Because if something is simple and it's easy to listen to, you're gonna keep coming back. Oof.
Oh man. So that was simply known as the theme for Kakutogi. Man, that was amazing. They was cooking.
Yeah.
So this song was written by Aki Ikuta and Yukihiro Takahashi. The last song was written by Aki Kuyano. The song before that was written by Bernard Edwards and Nile Rodgers, You're a Friend to Me. And Summer Nerves was written by Aki Kuyano. Just gotta say right off the bat, the Chic influence is very immediate here. I'm not sure how familiar you are with Chic, but I'm hearing Le Freak, Chic. I'm hearing Good Times. I'm hearing a little bit of The Hustle by Van McCoy.
Yes.
In certain parts.
Yes, that's what I wrote in my notes as I was listening to this.
Do the hustle.
That little section. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, I could see Manjima now. But
Yeah.
but yeah.
It's a nice mix of everything. Like what I picked up from it, other than The Hustle, of course, was I don't know. It kind of has this strange reggae anime mix. Like it sounds like the kind of song you would hear in Neon Genesis Evangelion.
Really?
You would hear in you would hear from a remix someone's done on YouTube of one of their tracks.
I think
reggae.
it's the string arrangement that really does it.
Yeah.
The string arrangement really gives it a more of a sophisticated feeling to it. But yeah, it's got all the disco melodies melted together in this sort of weird ska reggae arrangement, and it just works.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned that Yukihiro Takahashi composed it and wrote it, and I can understand with the Chic influence that you bring up based on his tastes. But also I've noticed that when Yukihiro Takahashi writes songs, he's very clever with how he does the drum work for it, because in this it's very subtle. He's very, very soft when he needs to be, when the track completely changes. But then as soon as he wants to put in some tension to it, or the moment that he wants to like put a little bit more power behind the rest of the instruments played, he starts smacking down on the drum.
Right. That's true.
He caters himself to the drum work basically whenever he writes something, and it works.
Yeah, it just works. It's like it helps that they know what they're doing too, you know. So.
Woo.
So that was just straight up dance hall. So
I was gonna say very avant-garde, experimental reggae.
So dance hall. Okay, so I guess I should ask. How familiar are you with dance hall, Sonic?
I'm gonna be honest, not at all.
That's all right. So also, by the way, the song is called "Gonna Go to I Colony." I don't know what that's referring to, and I'm actually not sure who wrote it. It doesn't say it on Discogs, but basically,
I'm gonna guess and say Ryuchi Sakamoto.
I'm gonna take a wild guess.
How experimental it is. Yeah.
But
knowing him, these kind of tracks that he does that sound a little bit more avant-garde and experimental. So with Ryuichi Sakamoto, you got two people. You got the people who absolutely love it because they absolutely love how experimental he is, or you got the people who absolutely can't stand that and they prefer his more like easy listening or more poppy.
So here's the thing:
track.
If you're familiar with dancehall, this isn't as experimental as you might think it is, because this is straight up this is what dancehall sounds like. So basically, dancehall was pretty much the precursor to hip hop, and this is actually something I'm going to cover in a later podcast on the channel. But so dancehall is to reggae to what hip hop is to disco and R&B, where basically they took the Rocksteady. Basically, they took Rocksteady and reggae songs, and they overdubbed it. They overdubbed it a lot and slowed it down.
Oh.
And they would have different artists would come and rap on top of the track or sing on top of the overdubbed beat.
Oh.
Yeah.
It makes sense because, like, something I noticed with the track is that when you say that they overdubbed it.
Yeah.
One of the things I noticed that Ryuchi Sakamoto did is he turned his voice into an instrument and synthesized it and started going da 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 ba ba ba.
Mm-hmm.
Da, da, da,
Oh,
da,
that was his
da,
voice.
da, da. Yes, that's him.
That's crazy. That's crazy. Yeah, I'm gonna send you some dancehall tracks from like the 70s. You're gonna hear what Sakamoto was basically influenced by, because this is straight up like, if you ever listen to like Yellow Man, Buju Banton is my personal favorite. Shabba Ranks, a lot of people might know. It's all just that's that dancehall sound, is just overdubbed reggae, rock steady, with some slight electronic stuff in it.
Yeah, like a lot of ambient sounds. Like there was like a slight crackle. Like it seemed to use the stereo sound very well. Like you'd get a crackle in your left ear, and then you'd have like a little whisper in your right ear.
Yeah, yeah.
It's very, very immersive.
Right. Okay, so that was called Time Trip, and this is another good one. So this one particularly, especially the opening, very Bob Marley. I'm thinking of
very reggae.
Well, Bob Marley specifically. I'm thinking of No Woman No Cry, and I'm thinking of Three Little Birds, or as most people know it as Don't Worry About a Thing. The song's called Three Little Birds. It kind of flows into this more I said Oriental previously. I guess the better, more appropriate word would be like exotica, because when I say Oriental, I guess what I'm referring to is sort of that sort of like faux, fake Asian sound. You know what I'm saying? Like the
distinct sort of like Asian sound that he's going with.
Yeah,
I think that was one of the reasons why he was singing like that, was to try and give that vibe, because it sounded very Chinese. But as was confirmed by one of our listeners, that he was singing Japanese.
Right. Well, it's that Martin Denny type of sound, but translated into reggae. Martin Denny was the creator of exotica, the genre of exotica music, which is rooted in sort of taking these sort of fake imitation, like exotic sounds that weren't quite. I think the vague. There we go. The word I'm looking for is vague. They kind of took these vague Asiatic sounds and turned it into something exotic, basically, to make it seem like it was like foreign.
Well,
right?
funny you mentioned that, because as you know, Martin Denny's song Firecracker was covered by YMO.
Yeah, they covered a lot of songs.
So they were definitely influenced by him.
Yeah, they covered a lot of songs. They covered a good number of those tracks.
Yeah, I think the use of his voice during the song, it kind of felt like he was trying to turn it into its own instrument to give it that sort of exotic, sort of exotica feel to it.
I think he did a good job.
I think that's one of the. I think one of the reasons why Ryuichi Sakomoto, because I'm kind of on the bench about him synthesizing his voice, because at one end I want to know what he's singing. It's very difficult to tell, but at the other end, I understand why he's doing it. He's trying to turn his voice into an instrument so that he can use it as part of the song. He almost takes the vocal part of it and turns it into an instrumental. Although it's hard to understand what he's saying, it works very well as a sound as part of the overall song.
Right. You know, I was pretty hard on his vocal work at first, but I think I don't mind it when he sings normally, but I also do like it when he synthesizes his voice, just because he's able to do so in really creative ways. Sometimes when people do that, when they try to like auto-tune their voice or whatever, or synthesize their voice, it comes off as tacky, but I think Sakamoto's able to do it in a way that's very creative.
Did you like the Kenji Omura
So that
solo.
so that was probably the least reggae song
Yes.
on the album. There wasn't a hint of reggae to be found.
That was jazz fusion.
Yeah, that was just straight up jazz beat. I love it, but it was just like, oh, okay, we're just
Yeah.
went from Jamaica to New York, which appropriate enough
Yeah.
is more common than you think.
But what I found with this song is it seemed to take, so it seemed to trade places between the synth, the bass, and the drums taking the forefront.
Yes,
Like if you
yes,
if you listen carefully, the sound mixing seems to jump between them all.
Mhm.
Either it's the synth that's primarily playing and then it's backed up by the two.
Yep.
Or it's it's either the bass which is then backed up by the other two instruments.
Yeah.
And it works really well. They know when to do it and they know when to like pull back
Absolutely.
and let the other instruments do their job.
It's a very catchy jazz fusion song. The main guitarists on this one were Kazumi Watanabe, of course, and Kenji Omura. The reason I called out Kenji Omura is just because I don't know, with certain musicians, you could kind of tell who's on guitar by the way they play.
He's a mad lad with the electric guitar.
Yeah, well,
Not a mad
if you're
lad.
familiar with Kenji Omura, he did his best album, in my opinion, is Kenji Shock, and he just has a very specific style. I'm not too familiar with Kazumi Watanabe since I've only listened to Kailin, but I would say this track in particular is sort of a precursor to what he would do in that album, because Kailin came out a few months after Summer Nerves. But yeah, this is a pretty cool track. It's really good at shifting between the synthesizer and the guitar solos, and the guitar solos are really rocking. Like this track a lot.
Yeah, I was going to say, it gives me a lot of vibes between, because a lot of one of the things that attracted me to city pop, and it still does, is that it gives me this nostalgic feel, because I grew up playing the Sega Saturn, and a lot of the songs that I hear in city pop, especially stuff that's like jazz fusionist, kind of reminds me of Fighter's Megamix and like
Right.
the Virtua Fighter games. So this is like, oof,
I mean,
taking me back.
there's a big influence. Between video game music and techno pop and city pop and all that. I mean, Sonic the Hedgehog's aesthetic was based off of the artwork by Hiroshi Nagai. You know what I mean? So it's the correlation is not by coincidence, is what I'm getting at. So
Yeah.
that's a cool thing to notice. And that was Neuronian Network.
Sounds like it's straight out of a mall, doesn't it?
Out of a what?
But a mall.
Oh, a mall.
Like a space mall.
Yeah.
It reminded me. So this is something that I don't think we have too much in the UK, at least to the sort of the large sort of shopping complexes I've been to.
Really?
We don't really have music playing. Oh no, not at all. I think quite a lot of American things that you kind of take for granted in the UK, we're kind of like, we hate like music, we hate like elevated music, it's like annoying for us. So my experience with more music comes from the game Dead Rising,
Right.
and the piano work totally reminded me of Dead Rising.
Yeah.
But it had like this, almost like this spacey ambience to it that went with it.
Well, if you hadn't guessed yet, this is the track that was composed by good old Harry. Yeah. So you could kind of tell what direction he was going into as well. And I like it. I think the ambient space noises really blended in with. I'm gonna guess that was Ryuichi himself on the keyboards, on the piano.
And playing around with a few sounds here and there and synthesizing them.
Yeah, and because I really like the piano melody on this song. It was very relaxing, on top of the weird space bass, as I call it. So this is a relaxing track. I like this one a lot. It harkens back to.
It's nice to end it on.
Yeah, I agree. It harkens back to Tim Panally's Tropical days, like Bon Voyage and Tropical Dandy. It feels like a Yeah, Peking Duck. It feels like sort of a merging of the YMO and the Tin Pan Alley sounds.
Very pumpy
Mm-hmm.
drum work. I don't know if pumpy's the word, but it definitely has like a very
It's talking about the boom,
a
boom,
lot of power
boom,
to
boom,
it.
boom, boom. That
Yeah,
stuff.
a lot of power to it.
Oh yeah, there's definitely
That matches piano work.
yeah, it's definitely very firecracker, but it's a lot more calm and subdued. It reminds me a lot of Honeymoon, which is a Harry Houdini song, but with a more space age vibe, and I like it. I like it a lot. But yeah, so that was Summer Nerves by Ryuichi Sakamoto. So what are your thoughts on this album?
It's an incredible album that starts with reggae and then turns into whatever they want with it.
Yeah, pretty much.
Consistent drum work. It plays around with a lot of synthesized sounds. You get to hear Ryuchi Sakamoto sing without a synthesizer, which is incredibly rare. You only really hear it in his live performances. But like they're very, very specific performances where he's playing a song slightly differently. Yeah, and you get to see a whole bunch of amazing artists come together to make their own take on reggae.
Yeah, and I have to say, as someone who listened to this years ago, my first impression wasn't that great. I thought it was rather boring from the first couple of songs. Listening to it now, just with with a more mature taste in music, it's really good. I would say this is one of my favorite Sakamoto albums. It's still very, doesn't do anything over the top, especially when you consider Sakamoto's other work with, B2 and Thousand Knives.
Futurista.
And Futurista, Music Encyclopedia. But I think this one, is a nice, it's a nice tangent. It's a very nice tangent from Sakamoto's traditional work. It's a really good blend of Sakamoto's style of electronic music and chic disco, all wrapped in a neat little reggae arrangement. And I was actually really impressed. As someone who's, like I said, someone who's listened to reggae, I'm not like a reggae expert. It's just, I've grew up with certain artists. But it doesn't do anything, it doesn't do anything that I haven't heard before. But it's done very well, and I think the neat stuff that's unique to Sakamoto really helps the reggae song stand out. Sleep on My Baby is just fire. You can't go wrong when you put that song. It's just it's so smooth. It's so it just puts you in a good mood. I think for me it's weird because when you look at the album cover, you wouldn't think reggae music. You would probably think maybe post-punk, just because it's literally just Sakamoto with a neck brace on, he just broke his he just finished suffering from whiplash, and then on the back of the album, you see somebody holding him by the shoulder from behind. So it's like Sakamoto being held hostage to make this album. What's happening? It's just the presentation of this album is sending a lot of mixed messages, but when you get to listening to it, it's oh, this is just reggae. What the heck?
When you look at it, the first thing I think when I see it is that you think, oh, you're in for almost like a summer-esque album, a bit like Big Wave. You're expecting some sort of beachy kind of sounds, but it completely ambushes you with by becoming reggae and becoming a bunch of very experimental songs and homages to previous works from the other members of the band.
Yeah, and I think it's a great fusion of a lot of different sounds from a lot of different genres. Like I said, you've got the Jamaican funk, you've got the disco, you've got the electro pop, and you've got the rock steady and the dancehall, and it's all blended extremely well in this album, and I appreciate that. I was in for a very pleasant surprise. So yeah, I really was. So I'm pretty.
He has a habit of doing that. Every time you listen to an album, you always think something different when you listen to it.
Yeah.
You just go, oh, that's new.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it helps that each album feels so different. So I'm really excited on what's next, and I'm really happy I gave this album another shot. I think it's definitely worth getting in your collection. You could get it on Discogs, and you could get the vinyl on Light in the Attic Records. Definitely check out Summer Nerves by Ryuichi Sakomoto and Kakutogi Session. Yeah, let us know what you thought of the album in the comments below. Let us know what album you want us to review next. Let us know what your favorite Sakamoto song or album is. Thanks again to Sonic and by that extension Neo Tokyo for hosting our podcast. If you guys want to listen to the podcast live, then join Neo Tokyo today. It's an awesome community filled with a lot of great music enthusiasts and a lot of great musical talent as well. But until next
I
time,
would be happy to have any of you.
absolutely. But until next time, you're listening to Come Along Radio. I'm Rocket Brown, and I'll see you around.
Educates, syncopates,